Afternoon, happy Friday, everyone. The sun's actually shining outside my window, which is a surprise because normally it's not. Okay, so obviously I'm going to talk to you about three things today. The whole point of this session is around potentially helping you to switch into a digital career. And that doesn't necessarily mean to say to switch into a technology career. It may be that you're in a particular industry at the moment and you just want to learn some skills that are going to enable you to use technology to be more efficient and more effective in that particular role. Or your company is using technology in a different way and you think actually moving into that different remit will be something that I think I'm good at and something that I think actually I'll be successful in. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and the things that I'm going to talk to you about today, first and foremost, are just some of the opportunities regarding the digital careers across Greater Manchester, because obviously with the COVID scenario and lots of people being made unemployed and lots of people furloughed, there seems to be all this negativity around lack of opportunity within the job market. However, I just want to set the scene with regards to what happened last year in 2019. There's been some fantastic data released yesterday from TechNation, so we'll look at that. Then I'm going to take you into some of the resources that Becky just mentioned with regards to how to get yourself upskilled, how to potentially look at different careers, moving into a totally different career remit. And then also the third thing is we're going to take you through a virtual interview tool that's delivered through LinkedIn in partnership with Microsoft to help you get into a position where actually you've got the skills and now you're really in a position to go into that interview and smash it and actually say, yes, you know, these are the reasons why I should be working for this company, and just set yourself above anybody else that goes into those situations. And then at the end, there's some key takeaways that I'll just highlight. So I will, as I said, I'm going to ping up this deck at the moment, and I'm just going to talk through a few things. So one of the things that I just want to call out is obviously around the industry at the moment with regards to technology. And we as an organisation, and Microsoft as an organisation, know that we have to be able to help and to support in order to look at the economic recovery across the UK, but actually thinking of the future of work. What are the roles going to be like as, you know, the next 2 to 5 years? What are the opportunities going to be for you in those industries? And how can we work with the public sector? So obviously the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, private organisations like Manchester Digital, and again, other companies across the whole of Greater Manchester, in order to give you the skill set and the foundational tools to then help you to move forward into that career. So Microsoft mission, actually, if you look at our mission here, it's to empower every person and every organisation on the planet to achieve more. That's what we stand for.
Sorry, can I just interrupt you? I don't think your slides aren't sharing. Could you?
Of course, yeah. Sorry, it's let me go back. Sorry, Becky.
It's just before we came on.
No worries. I'm used to Teams, so unfortunately I'm not used to it. So yeah, are we all good now, Becky?
Yeah, we're sharing. I can see the entire screen, so yeah, once you get your PowerPoint, that'll be working.
No worries. Okay, so I'll quickly just kind of go back then to what I was saying around the presentation. So again, our CEO talks around the partnership that we have with public and private sector, and that's why we're working really closely with GMCA. And the actual focus that we have as an organisation, as a business, is make sure that we enable people to use the technology for them to then be successful. Now that could be within any industry. So it's not necessarily just the tech industry, it's actually across all industries. Every single organisation now will need people and need the talent that have the technical skills. So if we then kind of look at what it is that we're trying to do from a UK perspective, we're trying to help our customers, our partners, individuals like yourself, get the skills that you need to take on that opportunity. So what I just want to do is I just want to kind of highlight a few things that came out in a report yesterday. So it's a TechNation report, and it talks about jobs and skills from 2019. And I just kind of want to pull a few things out because, again, we talk around, are there opportunities and they're not opportunities. So each week there were 90,000 digital vacancies advertised. There were an increase in 22% for cloud computing roles. Now, a lot of people think, don't really know what cloud computing is. Technology used to be all about hardware and things in the background, whereas now, cloud computing is when you're storing your photos on your phone. Cloud computing is when you're actually talking to your friends through WhatsApp, etc. We all use the technology in our everyday lives, and therefore there's a huge requirement for the skill set in order for people to be able to build out that technology and build on that technology. And if you look at here, so this year alone, there's been an increase in 36% of jobs, and software developer is one of the top jobs across the whole of the UK, and that correlates as well to Manchester. So again, if I take you to the next slide, I just want to pull out some figures. When you're thinking about actually why is it that I want to move into this sector. So if you look at the actual advertisements in 2019, there are 108,000, nearly 109,000 jobs, digital jobs that were advertised last year. So again, if you think about what's the potential opportunity, there's definitely an opportunity there. 18% of roles were actually advertised in Manchester. And again, the salary expectations are higher within the digital industry by nearly 10k the normal salary in other organizations and other industries. So again, if you're there now thinking at the moment, I'm not necessarily sure that this is something that's for me. Technology sounds a little bit scary. You need to think about actually how are the digital skills and how's the technology industry going to evolve over the next few years. And this is your opportunity to start thinking about getting those foundational skills now, so that in the next 3, 5, 10 years, you're really setting yourself up for success within a career that's continually growing. So what I want to do is, Microsoft have got lots of different initiatives that we have with regards to how we can help to support you to get the skills. I'm going to talk about 2 things at the moment. So I'm going to talk about in a second our Global Skills Initiative. And at the back end of June, Microsoft made a huge global announcement to upskill 25 million people. And already in the UK, we're making significant steps towards providing information to people. And hopefully off the back of this, everyone that's watching now will be able to say, yes, I'm really interested, go on, do some learning, and then get you in a position where then you can move into a job. The other thing that we have actually is that we have a dedicated team of individuals who run virtual sessions every single day. And they can be aimed at individuals, they can be aimed at youngsters. So for example, some Minecraft sessions, some coding sessions, right the way through to small businesses. So if you're a small business and you're watching this and you're thinking, actually, how do I get the talent that I need for my organization? Or how do I use technology more effectively to help to support me? Then there's sessions on there again that you can attend completely free. And throughout the whole of October, we've dedicated every single weekend to job employability sessions. So literally every single session that takes place over this weekend and the rest of the weekends throughout October are all around helping you to improve your employability, thinking of things around, how to set up your LinkedIn profile, how to actually get yourself in a position where you're job ready, etc. So I am more than happy to share the link afterwards with regards to how you can access that information. But what I want to do now is I want to talk you through the Global Skills Initiative. So I'm going to go back out of here, back to my face, hello me, and then I'm going to go back here. So it's very strange talking to the computer actually and not having an audience. Used to standing up on stage in the real world before we got to this situation where we are now and speaking to people. So it's it's a very different experience, but this is something obviously we all need to get used to. So we announced that we're going to help 25 million people, and what we've done is we've actually with regards to the Microsoft organization as a family, we've come together with LinkedIn and GitHub. So LinkedIn's the online professional network for you to be able to explain to people what skills you have, what your experience is, and potentially if you're looking for a new position moving forwards. Microsoft as an organization, obviously we do lots of it. We provide lots of services across lots of different technology. And then GitHub is actually the developer platform. So if you're somebody who's interested in coding, or if that's the particular remit that you have within your organization, then GitHub has lots of different resources, free resources that you can go on and access and do hacks and things like that as well. So what we did was we took the information from the LinkedIn data, what we call the LinkedIn economic graph. And basically, that's all the information that people put into LinkedIn saying, you know, this is my new job, I've left this job, everything that talks around these are the jobs that are available and being advertised. And we then mapped the top 10 in-demand jobs against that particular data. And this correlates directly to the UK. It's global data, but it correlates directly to the UK. And there is an option as well. So if, for example, if you're somebody from local authority watching and you want to know the granular data, there is an option for you to drill down into that data. And again, I'm more than happy to share that afterwards. But yeah, so you're looking for a job, you're thinking, I really want to get into the digital industry, I'm not sure where to start. Well, if you're going to start learning a skill for the digital sector, then it makes sense to learn one that's actually in the most demand. So we've actually released these, we call them pathways. So there are pathways that are aligned to particular jobs. And the resources that I'm going to show you now are available for free until the end of March next year. Okay, so it's important that you realise that actually there's a timescale on these resources, but if you want to start learning, you're really interested in moving into a digital career, then now's the opportunity for you to actually kind of grab hold of these resources and start learning. So on here, you'll see the pathways, and we've got 10 pathways. And I'll just kind of flick over them, and you'll see on here that, you know, there's software developer, IT admin, IT support desk, data analyst. They're clearly roles within the technical industry. And it might be that actually you're a data analyst and you work in the financial sector, or you work in the pharmaceutical sector. You know, what it may be that you work in different kind of areas, or you work specifically in the tech industry. However, if you're someone that's potentially looking at switching into a role, and you think, actually, I don't necessarily want to go too deep on the technical things from the start. Again, the other roles, sales representative, project manager, digital marketer, they're all digitally enabled roles. In order for you to be successful in those roles, you will have to have digital skills. So I'm going to click on I'll click on the digital marketer one and take you through to show you what the actual pathway looks like. And then at the end, if you've got any particular questions, I'm more than happy to jump back into any of the areas and go through in more detail. So you're interested in a digital marketing role, you don't have any skills whatsoever at the moment. And so I've clicked on the resources, and all the links and everything can be shared. So again, if you are interested, like Becky said, go to the expo area, register your interest, and then we'll be able to send you the information afterwards. But we've got the pathway here, and it links through to LinkedIn Learning, okay? So you don't have to have a LinkedIn populated profile that tells all about your work experience if you're somebody who's just coming out of college, somebody who's out of university and hasn't had any experience, or somebody potentially who's unemployed or going back into the workplace. You don't have to have a populated profile. However, if you're looking for a job, then that does help. But it logs you in, and then what you will see is that actually there's a significant amount of free content available. So there's nearly 27 hours worth of content as part of this digital marketing pathway. And you'll see as well on here that actually it's, in order to be a successful digital marketer, you have to have skills across lots of different technologies. So it's very agnostic in the information that's provided. So you see obviously SEO foundations, content marketing, marketing across different social media platforms. All of that information is going to get you to a point where actually you are then, you've got the skill set to go into a company and say, look, I think that I'm good for this job because I understand these things. And at the end of it as well, you'll see that once you complete that pathway, it gives you a certificate of completion. Okay, that's not necessarily an accreditation. You don't have to take an exam. You just have to do the course and complete the pathway. And again, from an employer's perspective, if you're then going into a particular role, into a particular interview, two things. One, it actually shows that you have some understanding of that particular role it is that you're going into. but also, and maybe more importantly, actually, it shows that you have motivation, that you have determination, that you have the ability to learn. And lots of those things are more personal things that employers are looking for, rather than just the very kind of technical elements. If you can learn in an organization and you show that motivation, then you'll go a long way within your career. So I think, being able to show this now during this opportunity where you might be furloughed, and you're thinking, what do I do with the time that I have now before, we're potentially going back into lockdown again? What do I do now with my time? This is a great opportunity to actually give yourself those additional skills and set yourself up for success. So that's one example of a pathway with regards to digital marketing. And then I just kind of click on a different one. We'll click on the software developer one, because obviously that's the most in-demand job. And again, the job that has the highest paying salary at this moment in time. So we've got software developer, and across the whole, across globally, advertised on LinkedIn currently, there's 15 million jobs. Now, one thing I want to point out, obviously, is that we're trying to help to support Greater Manchester as a region to become the leading lighthouse city around technology companies and making sure that technology is a fundamental part of everything. However, there are also opportunities where individuals who work in companies within Manchester can actually support other companies around the globe. So you'll be delivering services to other companies as well. So I just want to bear that in mind, that by getting these skills, you have that opportunity to really open the doorway into the wider world, and it not necessarily just being within the area. You can work with other companies and really bring value back to Greater Manchester as well. So we've got the actual software developer pathway. And I'll click on here. It's very much the same as the one before. It's kind of broken down. These are the things you will learn. This is what you will practice. And then these are the other things as well. So again, 29 hours worth of content. So a lot of content on here. And it takes you through the very fundamentals. So if you've never coded or you've never done programming before, software development, this course here for 2 hours will give you the fundamentals. And actually, you might not necessarily think, I want to be a software developer, or I don't really know whether it's for me. Well, you can do the 2 hours course and do the information, learn the information, and then after it, you can make the decision as to whether it's for you or not. Because without really realizing what is encompassed as part of that career, you can't necessarily make a decision as to whether it's right for you or not. So again, lots of different information on here, takes you all the way through. The skill set that you'll learn off the back of this is very high in demand. I speak to employers all of the time who are looking at building out technologies, and these are the actual languages and things that they're looking for when they're taking on employees moving forward. And again, you get the certificate of completion. And I'm going to take you into one more, because I just want to show you that they're not all 30 hours long for the learning. Okay, so let's just click on to customer service specialist. And again, it might be that you're an employer and you're thinking, how do I bring in talent? How do I make sure that people within the organization have got the skills that they need? And it might be that actually what you're trying to do is you're trying to upskill your existing staff to redeploy them into other roles within the organization. And a lot of the content in all of these courses can be done in a modular basis. So you don't have to do all of every single course. You can just do one session from that course and one session from that course and get broader skills if that's something that you want to do. So again, we've got the customer service learning pathway. All of the information, as I said, all of this access is completely free. So go on, get online, start learning as soon as possible. There's no excuses to say you don't have access to the resources, because they're completely available. And obviously on here, customer service foundations. How do you build rapport with customers? How do you handle abusive customer calls? I mean, how many times do people say that within the industry they get abusive calls? And this gives you strategies on how to deal with them. And again, within public sector organizations, I've got different business departments actually taking these courses to upskill their individuals to really help them deliver the best service that they can out as a local council or a local authority, and even a central government organisation, as well as some of the businesses that potentially you'll be applying for. So certificate of completion at the end of it as well. Okay. as well as those resources, the 10 pathways. So that gives you the information around the particular jobs. What we have on here as well, if I go back to the, I went back to the first page, this is where you will land. So it's opportunity.linkedin.com. That's where you'll go through to and you'll get all this information. And again, it tells you learn the skills, apply for the jobs, prepare for interviews. And if I scroll down to the bottom, what that also does is it also gives me some other resources. Now it says upskill your residents for government leaders. However, if I'm somebody who's looking for a job right now, I want to click on that and get these skills. So if I click through here, there's two particular pathways that I want to call out. One is around how do you find a job during economic times? You know, we're all in a position at the moment where it's very uncertain. If we have a job, we're not sure how long we'll have that job for. If we don't have a job, we're not sure when we will get a job. We might have had a job and be in a scenario where we're potentially going to lose that job. So there's lots of things from a mental perspective as well that can be difficult. And the content in this course is actually more around how do you get yourself in a position where you really, you understand obviously that the scenario at the moment is difficult, but actually you're building on some of the personal skill sets. So again, how do you manage feeling overwhelmed? How do you look at building out career strategies that are going to be successful moving forwards? So the information on here obviously is really useful, again, in building resilience. Half an hour course on building resilience. Now that might be relevant now, but actually it might also be relevant in another 5 years. So say, for example, if you go into a role or you get made redundant in another 5 years, or you actually, you know, there's a situation where you feel, actually, I'm getting knocked back, having that resilience and building that is a skill set that will set you in good stead for the rest of your life. So again, you can do some of the courses, you can do all of the courses if you want to. You know, 10 ways to stay motivated while job hunting. That's not just like eating bowls of ice cream and different things like that. It's just a case of, you know, what are the things that you can do to get yourself in the right mindset? Because it's not necessarily easy. I'm not saying it's easy to find a role, but there are roles available. And if you've got the right mindset and the right dedication to get the skills, then obviously you're going to be a lot more successful. Okay, and then the other one that I want to show you is, if we go back to this one, where have we gone now? Here we go. If we go back here, I've got a lot of tabs open now. So we've got the responsive kind of courses at the moment to help you right now. But as well as digital roles, you're looking at moving potentially and switching into a digital career, there are all the other softer skills that individuals and companies are looking for. So it's not necessarily just being a software developer or being a customer service specialist. It's actually, how do you make sure that as an individual and as an employee that you have all the rounded skills and the soft skills? So again, we've got some fantastic content on here, and it's delivered by leading experts globally. It's all been brought together to be the most useful information. So we've got how to develop your emotional intelligence, embracing unexpected change. But again, things here, you know, teamwork foundations. Irrespective of what job you go into, what role you go into in industry, you have to be able to work as part of a team. It's one of the fundamental skill sets that you need to have. And again, communication, effective listening, core skills that you will need to have in order to be successful. So obviously lots and lots of information there on the broader skill set. And it might be that you're not even looking for a job. It might be that you're an employer, or you're just somebody who's in a job and you're quite happy and you're just interested in what this session's all about. All of the skills that are on there will be relevant to you and will help you be more successful. So again, I'd recommend everybody who's actually watching this session to utilise these resources now whilst they're available to really set yourself up for success. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go into the next part of this, which is around the interview piece. Bear with me 1 second, because I've been speaking quite a lot. Okie dokie. So we've got the skills, and what we've got is this fantastic piece around preparing for interviews. So I know when I was looking at interviewing, there was lots of opportunity back in the past around do some role playing and practice interviews and things like that. And you know, it's not necessarily right for everybody. Some people find it a bit cringe. They, you know, they find it a bit awkward having to be put on the spot. So what we have is a super little tool that actually gives you the opportunity to really get to the point where you're honing your skill set. So on here, this first and foremost, there's information around how do you actually interview within a digital setting. You know, we're literally behind our devices. We're communicating through our computers all of the time. So how do you make sure that you get your own personality, get your own sense of self across to those potential employers? So obviously there's interview tip videos in there. Again, some really, really great information. Body language tips as well in there to help you when you are in front of a potential employer. But what we have is we have this tool here that is absolutely fantastic in regards to getting you prepared for those interviews. Okay, so again, it's logged me through to LinkedIn in regards to the fact that some of the information that I'm going to be inputting into this obviously is private and it needs to be protected in the right way. So you'll see on the left-hand side, what we have here is the most common questions. So these are the most common questions that you will be asked in an interview. Tell me about yourself. Why do you want this job? You know, why do you want to leave your current job potentially? Give me an example of a situation where you failed. That seems to throw people off quite a lot when they're in interviews. So on the left-hand side, you've got examples of all of the questions. And then what we have here on the right-hand side is we have the framework on how to answer that question. And I can watch a video on that, or I can read the information. So again, I'm going into the interview. What is it that I need to do to present myself across to that employer? I need to make sure that I'm being succinct in my answers, linking back to the job description, and again, making sure that I'm tying the stories that I have to the needs of the employer, because there's no point in just jabbering on an answer and not actually thinking about what it is that you're saying. And, you know, even I, when I'm in situations of stress, will just blurt something out and not even think about what it is that I'm trying to say. So really take your time to think about, how am I going to articulate this back to the potential employer, and make sure that I'm setting myself up for success. So we've got the interview questions. We've also got the framework of the answer. And then here, what we also have is some sample answers. So if I was to click on this one, what it then does is it gives me the opportunity to watch a video of exactly how that person answered those interview questions. Okay. Then if I wish to, I can read what they've said. And at the end of it, it tells me why that question actually worked well. So if you think about when you're putting yourself into a situation of answering those questions, you know, understand why the answer worked well, and make sure that you weave some of the potential comments and the ways that the answer was articulated into the answer that you're then going to give an employer. The more that you can practice and set yourself in a position where you're confident in what you're going to be presenting in those interviews, the more success that you're going to have. And there's not just one answer, sample answer. There's lots of sample answers that you can go through again, you know, different individuals as well. So mechanical engineer, professional, we've got information on here around what that experience is of that individual, and then why that answer actually worked well. And it's quite funny because I had a question the other day of somebody saying, well, don't people just remember the answers verbatim? And I said, well, you know, if you have stories that you can link to those particular answers, then actually it's, you know, it just shows that you're putting yourself in a position where you're going into those interviews being more confident. So again, we've got the questions, we've got the framework, we've got the answers. But what we also have that's super cool is the ability to practice that answer, okay? But when I practice that answer, what actually happens is we have some artificial intelligence in the background that will analyze the way in which you're presenting. So if I click on it now, it won't work because obviously I'm presenting at the moment, but I can record a video of myself if I wish, okay? So I can say, hi, my name's Lee Jones, and these are the things that I want to talk about myself. And then once I've recorded that video, I can view my answer if I wish, but what will happen is I will get feedback on that video. Am I talking too fast? Am I talking too slow? Do I pause too much? Do I use too many colloquialisms? all of the information, I say so, I know that I say so a lot when I'm speaking. It feeds you that information so that then you can be as successful and as succinct when you're going into the interview. And it'll also help you to understand how you articulate yourself in different situations. So when you're speaking to potential colleagues, when you're speaking to potential employees, when you're speaking to friends even, it'll give you that insight into how you present yourself. So again, make sure that you utilize the resources and the tools on here when it comes to actually to putting yourself in a position where you are going for an interview. And I want to talk as well around the different opportunities of jobs that are available. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, whilst I'm on here, I'm going to open something else. So let me open this one. So I want to show you on here some of the other things as well to think about when it comes to technology, and then also as well around actually how do you get the skill set, and what are the potential entry opportunities for you to go into particular jobs. So again, on here we've got lots more resources. So the pathway and the global announcement was all around the actual 10 particular jobs, the interview tool, everything else. But as well as that, there are a lot of individuals who think, well, I don't even know how to use the basic technology. So how am I going to even be in a position where I can then go into a job? Or that administration job that is probably entry level will still need a lot of technology and a lot of skills related to it. So we've got lots of different resources available. So one of them that I want to talk about is if you are in a situation where you're not very comfortable with digital technology, you haven't necessarily had to use computers or technology before in any particular roles, then there's resources available that are free that you can access. So if I click on here, working with computers, what it will then do is it will then take me out to an external website, and I can find out information and how to actually access and work with computers. So very, very easily to consume information. I can watch a video, I can then click through to the next steps of it, and ultimately at the end of this, then obviously I'll be able to understand how to use those technologies. If I then go back to here, so we've got the basic digital literacy piece. Then what we have is all around the productivity. So within an organization, within most businesses now, you will have to be able to use email, documentation writing, etc. How do you actually, use spreadsheets potentially, whichever platform it is that the employers are asking you to use. But from a Microsoft perspective, we've got loads and loads of free resources that are going to help you. So for example, if you think, haven't got a clue about Excel, really don't know, someone's asking me to do some analysis of different bits of information and I really don't know how to do it, what I can do is I can click through again to the resources, and then it'll give me either a video overview of how to do that particular thing or step-by-step guide on how to do it. So again, a lot of the time people feel embarrassed or they're ashamed of not necessarily having all of the answers. So the way in which employers now are looking at overcoming this is embedding all of the tools and technologies internally into learning systems to help their employees be successful. So again, it may be that this is part of a system that you will use internally to help you to learn for a role, or it's something that you can actually access yourself. Okay, so again, if we go back here, so we've got all of the productivity piece, basic digital literacy, the productivity piece. And again, Microsoft Teams, which is why I was very confused about sharing before on this platform. I haven't used it before. I'm used to living within Teams, but Microsoft Teams, obviously, very much video conferencing, lots of different abilities within there and technologies that you can actually use. So again, really, really great resource to get yourself up to speed if you want to understand how you're going to be using that technology within a role moving forwards. And then here we've got the critical soft skills piece. So we went through that before, obviously, effective listening, persuasion, how do you develop emotional intelligence, etc. And they're, they are skills that employers want. And again, if you're an employer and you're looking at how you can support your employees with this information and these skill sets, then, reach out or go to the expo area and, say, yeah, I'm interested, and then we can send you some information around this as well. Now, if you think about the technology industry, if we look at this end, this here is all around the introduction, like the fundamentals of some of the techie stuff. So, for example, if you are looking at how to use data and analyze data and different things, then there's a course that you can do that's completely free, a fundamentals course that will get you to a point where you understand that. So we've got lots of different things. Obviously, we saw before that there's been an increase in cloud vacancies, cloud role vacancies, and Azure is the cloud that Microsoft actually build upon. So again, if you're looking at potential roles within that specific sector, then the likelihood that you will have to have some skill set around this is considerably high. But not necessarily the cool thing at the moment, but one of the things I really want to point out as part of this is the Power Platforms fundamentals. So it sounds quite scary. However, if you're looking at building out applications, okay, so we've all kind of, we've seen all of the rise in build out an application. You can do it within, the iOS or Android or whatever else it is. It's become, very much a highly sought after skill set. But it's quite difficult to be able to kind of learn those skill sets. What we've actually created now with Power Platforms is an ability for low code, no code development. So you can actually yourself very easily learn how to take existing processes within an organization, do some coding, some low coding around them, drag and drop type of things, linking them to some data sets, and then that actually will provide an application back to the business. So if you have this skill set, again, you're going to be really, really valuable within an organization because you can help to, one, it reduces the cost, but actually the time to create the applications is significantly reduced. And again, you can test lots of different things. So off the back of this, again, if you go through, it talks about, what is it? What are the basics understanding? How do you link through? How do you link around Power Apps? And it gives you examples of case studies and different things in there. So really, really fantastic resource. If you're somebody who's interested, who has been interested in coding, who's looked at developing applications before, or somebody that's built websites in the past, then this is a fantastic resource for you to actually understand how can you use the tools and technology that are available now. Okay, and then the other thing that I want to talk about is the AI Business School. So again, artificial intelligence will change the way in which business is done here in the UK, globally, but specifically here in the UK, and the fact that this is where we're trying to drive the economic recovery. Greater Manchester wants to be seen as a leading city when it comes to the technology, and AI obviously is a fundamental part of that. And what the business school does, again, completely free resource for you to access. And this can be aimed at business leaders within an organization. So you could be the CEO of a company and you still need to understand how artificial intelligence is going to impact you and your business moving forward. And what tends to happen is actually that some of the people within the IT department may understand the benefits of the technology, and they might understand actually, the capabilities, and these are the efficiencies that can be made. But the strategic leaders, they don't really understand that. They understand what's the overall objective of the company. What are they trying to drive for? Are they trying to, consolidate systems, or are they trying to reduce costs, etc.? And by understanding, if that business leader element understand the ability of the technology, and the technology department understand the strategic vision of the organization, then together they can actually work collectively to look at how they use the technology to help to support the vision of the company. So if you think from your own perspective as an individual looking to understand and get into and help these businesses be successful, if you understand the artificial intelligence opportunity, then again, you're setting yourself up in a very strong position to be a valuable employee to organizations moving forwards. So on here, obviously, it talks around the strategy of AI. It talks around the culture and why it's important to think about culture and responsibility. So there's lots of different elements on here that you can go through. You can click on them, again, completely free. And then depending on what type of sector that you want to go into, there's more specialist learning paths. So it might be actually that you're thinking, I'm really interested in going into the public sector. I might want to work for one of the local authorities. I know that they have IT teams, and I think that that's where I want to work. So you can click on the government pathway, and again, that's information will be provided and more bespoke to that particular role. Or you might say, actually, I'm currently working for a manufacturing organisation or a retail organisation, and I need to understand how that's going to be impacted by AI and automation. So there's different pathways, again, that you can access to learn more information. And it might not be at the end of it that you then become an AI specialist. That's not what I'm saying. But it gives you the information, the foundation to actually then be able to say, is this something that's relevant? How can I add value to a potential employer moving forward? What are the things in the future that are going to impact me that I need to be thinking about now? So that again is another resource. And then the one other thing that I want to point out at the moment from a resource perspective, before I go on to the end of the session, and then I'm more than happy to take questions, is actually around accessibility. So accessibility and diversity inclusion front and center for every single organization. And as an individual, it's your responsibility to understand, why is it important to have an accessible culture, to be inclusive as an inclusive employee, and to make sure as well that you are making a stand within an organization that if you see something that isn't necessarily correct or acceptable, that you are confident to then speak out against that. So what we've done is we've created this course, Accessibility Fundamentals. It's 2.5 hours. It's probably best 2.5 hours that you'll spend. So if you're looking at learning over the next couple of weeks, do the Accessibility Fundamentals course because it's really, really useful. Okay. And the first and foremost thing it talks about is around the culture. What are the actual definitions around accessibility and disability? What is it that I can and I can't say in a situation? And people become uncomfortable that they don't necessarily how to act, and therefore they won't necessarily say something. So the half an hour information on there is really, really great to set the scene around that inclusion and culture perspective. But then we've got the accessibility features and tools and technology. And this is the bit that actually the tools are certain things that can just make massive, massive differences when it comes to productivity and comes to saving time. Now, I'll go through one of the accessibility tools in a minute, but most of the accessibility tools are actually built into the technology already. So if you're working in a document in Word, if, for example, I can't necessarily type on a computer, then I can dictate what it is I want to say, and it'll do the speech to text input into the computer. If I'm in an email and I don't want to type the email, I can just speak and say the email, and then all of it will therefore then be inputted into that email. So if you think from a time-saving perspective as an organization, understanding the tools, the accessibility features aren't just about people who have disability. They're about how we can help people to become more productive as well. So it might be that I've broken my arm and I can't type, and the only way that I can actually do the job is by using some of the dictate features or the transcription features, etc. If I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation and I've got images and things like that in there, I need to make sure that that is done in an accessible way. So if somebody's blind and they're using a screen reader, that they will know what information is actually then being presented back to them within that PowerPoint, irrespective of whether they can see it or not. So it's really important to think about what are the tools and what are the technologies that are available. And these are all digital skills. Understanding the technology that is available is a digital skill, and it's a skill set that you can bring to an employer. And most people won't even realize the features and things like that that are available. Okay, like I say, you do complete the course, 2.5 hours, and then you can pop it on LinkedIn and say, this is what I'm doing. And I'm working with lots of customers at the moment, taking their employees through the accessibility course. Because again, for them, if they can actually showcase that all of our employees are very much front and center around accessibility, it sets them out as a business, as an organization that all the businesses want to work with. Okie dokie. So, right. What I want to do now is I want to show you one of Manchester. So let's see here. Okay, I want to show you one of the features that's part of the accessibility tools. Okay, so if I go on here, this is the Manchester Digital website at the moment. Click on the About Us information. Okay, it's not coming up on this one. The accessibility, we have something that's called the Immersive Reader, and you'll see it in a second pop up here. But it doesn't necessarily always pop up dependent on how much information is on a particular page. But I can, irrespective of that, I can actually click on it and highlight the information. It'll take me into the accessibility tool. But I want to show you a way in which it comes up. Now, it won't come up on here again because of the way that the pictures are. So let's do something else. GMCA. Let's see if it, I don't know what the website actually is for GMCA. But, okay. Bear with me. Okay, so here we go. The Combined Authority site should have the information on here. It should pop up that I need. So let's have a look on information on here about the mayor. Okay, so here we go. We've got information here around Mayor Andy Burnham, and it talks to us around, you know, what are the strategies locally. But it might be that actually I really struggle with reading and I can't really take in that information. So what I can do is at the top here, you'll see the feature which is called the Immersive Reader. Now this is within the Edge browser. So if I click on the Immersive Reader, what that then does is it takes the information and then it brings it in and shows it me in a more accessible way. And I have the ability to, if I want, to have it read aloud.
The mayor. About Andy.
Now, I'm not sure whether you could hear that because obviously the systems, but you'll see it highlighted. It reads it aloud to me, and I can change the speed of the voice if I wish. From a personal perspective, I prefer it to be slightly fast, but I can change the speed if I wish to on there. I then, as part of the Immersive Reader, also have the opportunity to change the text preferences. So again, I can make it so that it's bigger. That's how I can consume it. I can change the way in which the text spacing is so that I can read it more effectively. But what I can also do as well is lots of people have invisible disabilities. So for example, dyslexia is something that a lot of people are living with day in and day out, and it's not necessarily something that you're aware of. So you wouldn't necessarily present the information automatically in a way that's easy for people with dyslexia to consume. However, if they've got the technology and the tools at hand, they can make sure that they're using it in a way that suits them. So I can change the color of the background if I want to. And again, I can change it to a different color, whichever it is that I prefer to change it to. So I'll change it back. I can also, as well, if I want to, within the Immersive Reader, change the way in which the wording is delivered. So again, I might struggle with reading, having it broken down into syllables might be really make it easier for me to understand the information that's been on there. And if anyone's got kids, then a cheeky little trick that it kind of tip that highlights all of the nouns if you need to see what a noun is or a verb, etc., etc. So that's just a random aside. But what I can do, and this is really valuable to know as somebody who's going into a business organization that's servicing people across different demographics, people from all over the world, is that I can change the information from the Combined Authorities website in the click of a button and turn it into a different language. So for example, if I'm French and I'm going onto the Combined Authorities website and I'm reading that and it's not, English isn't necessarily my first language, I don't completely understand. If I know that's available, I can change it into a different language. I can change it into the language that I want. I can change it into Bangla if I want to and have that information available to me. So obviously, knowing and understanding that the tools and the capabilities are there, I can then present this information in a way either externally to my customers or to the people that I'm supporting, or internally to myself in the way in which I consume it in the most effective way. So again, if we go here, and all I do now is I click back and it'll take me back to the Combined Authorities website. Okay, if I'm on a website and it doesn't actually show up, so before we were on the Manchester Digital site and it didn't come up automatically, you still have the ability to use the actual Immersive Reader. So I could click here, highlight it, right click, and then what you'll see is I can either have it read aloud. So super easy shortcut to have all the information read aloud. And it might be that actually You just want to walk around the room. You don't want to necessarily be sat down with, I've been sat in this room now for 9 months doing my work in this way. You don't necessarily want to be sat down. So I can literally just have all the information read aloud if I consume the information in that way more effectively. Or I can click on here and then it will take me directly out into the Immersive Reader. So again, even if it's not there automatically on a page, it's still available for you to have access to. Okay, and then one of the other things, whilst we're on this, I wasn't even going to talk about this, but one of the other things whilst we're on this actually is that when it comes to translation and it comes to technology and it comes to, employing people of different languages, or if you're supporting people that speak different languages, there's a fab app, a translator app that you can download onto your iPhone or onto your different kind of phones, whatever. And what it'll enable you to do is it'll enable you to have two-way conversation with somebody. So you can have a conversation, I'll speak English, and it'll translate it into French for that person and vice versa. But what I can also do, and if anyone's got friends that speak a different language, obviously get them to try this because it's a neat trick. I can take a photograph of a piece of paper, so a menu or a form or something like that, with my camera, and then it'll automatically translate that into a different language. So again, super, super cool, just a random aside that I thought that I'd kind of share. So what I want to do is I just want to kind of go to the last slide on here, and then what we'll do is I'm more than happy to answer questions. So obviously the actions for you right now, go to the expo, get more information, and then obviously we can send you more information with your agreement after this. Think about the roles within the industry, and also think about that it's not just the tech industry. There's digital roles in banks, there's digital roles in automotive businesses, there's digital roles across every single industry. So the opportunity to actually go into an industry that you're really excited about, then think about what it is that they need in that industry and then potentially learn the skills around that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is do some learning. Be that through the resources that I've shown today, be that through other online learning platforms, be that through something that the Combined Authority provides out as a service, or Manchester Digital, or one of the other organisations from the council that really want to help to support the growth across the city and the city region. Take the opportunity to learn those new skills, because without the skills, you're not going to actually be able to move into the industries that are really growing and are really going to give you opportunities moving forwards. Third one, set yourself up for success with the interview tool. I mean, have a laugh with it. Go on and just practice and see if I hate seeing myself in the computer. I'm really glad that I can't actually see myself. I'd love to see you lot. I'm glad that I can't see myself because it makes me feel uncomfortable. Put yourself in that situation where you feel uncomfortable, because nobody's looking. Like, if you feel like an idiot, it doesn't matter, it's only you. And actually by doing that, you're going to be in a position where when you do go to a real interview, you're not going to care whether you feel like an idiot. You're going to know, actually, this is how I show up. This is what I need to say. This is the way in which I can be successful. So go on, have a practice, have a laugh at yourself, and really kind of put yourself in a position where you say, right, I'm happy to go into that scenario and have that interview with that employer. And then as well, look for different roles that are available. It's not necessarily just full-time roles that you need to be thinking about. There's lots of ways into digital careers. There's full-time roles, part-time roles. You could potentially work with employees, on an internship or a work experience basis. There's lots of companies out there that are looking for really ambitious people to come in and work with them as an organisation. And one of the best things at the moment, one of the best ways to get into a digital career, whether you're in a role at the moment or not, whether you're in a role within the company and you want to change to a digital role within that company, then you can actually look at an apprenticeship as well. Now, apprenticeships obviously used to be for a certain age of people, but that's changing. So obviously there'll be a scenario where you might be a certain age, age kind of bracket and think it's not for me. Well, that's completely wrong. You have that opportunity to look at the different ways to go into the industry, and employers will be really, really supportive to bring you in because they want that talent to come into the organisation and they want to grow that talent with them. So I'm going to leave you with the quote from Satya Nadella. So he's our CEO. And basically he said, talent's everywhere, but opportunity is not. Okay, so all over the world, there's people that have talent. but how do they get access to that opportunity? And the way that you take control yourself is by getting the skills and reaching out for those opportunities that are available. As we said before, there was 110,000 roles in Greater Manchester advertised last year within the tech sector. There are roles that you could apply for. There is opportunity there. And again, it talks around once people have got access to the education and skilling, that's when economic opportunity comes back. And that's when you can add value to your communities as well. So from a Greater Manchester perspective and from a local authority perspective, and really advocating for working collaboratively to support people to get the digital skills that they need, because that's going to help you to grow the region, that's going to help you to be successful, and that's going to help everybody to recover off the back of COVID.